Hey everyone, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. And boy, do we have a new experience today. We are going to try something that we've never done before. As you can see, I've got Jared here with me. How you doing, Jared?
Good to be here with you.
Yeah, it's good to, of course, be with you on the podcast because you're always on the podcast. I am sort of the unusual guest here, but you and I are going to be co-hosts. We're going to just chat recent news, digital marketing happenings, things that have happened in the most recent week, and any interesting stories that we've come across. And so this is going to be a little bit more of a free-flowing episode. We, of course, have our notes of, hey, here's some interesting things that we saw this week, and here's maybe how people can implement that in their business. But for the most part, it's just going to be a conversation between you and I that hopefully is interesting for listeners, right?
Yeah, I was telling you before we started recording that it's so free flowing in its structure that I was a little bit nervous about this recording, but we picked a good week to start this. There's so much going on this week in the SEO world, in the online world, so I think we have so much to talk about. We'll fill the time with a lot of interesting stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for the first time ever, I guess, as well, we have different show segments, right? And so first we're going to start off with basically digital marketing news, and I'm trying to think of a really clever name here. So Jared, maybe you can help me, or guests can help in the future. But right now I'm calling it niche news, right? so we get all sides of the aisle. So this is kind of niche news that's happening in the industry. Then we're going to move on to a show segment that I'm calling right now, Now That's Impressive. These are going to be success stories, sort of recaps, things that we saw out in the wild that we think are really interesting. We're both going to bring a couple stories to the conversation here. And the next segment is Shiny Object Shenanigans. We're going to kind of share a couple of shiny object projects that we're working on, things that are not the main focus in our business, but are still fun, we're still experimenting with, and we're going to share that with the audience. And then finally, the last segment, if we have time to get to this, will be one weird niche. And so each of us are going to share one or two niche sites or just niche businesses that we've seen, again, that are interesting, unique, different, that might spark some something new for the audience and the listeners. So what do you think, Jared? Should we do it?
I think we should do it, and I think it's a great question to ask the audience if people want to comment on any of the. I think we have four basic kind of bullet points we're trying to hit, and this is the first one. So if anybody thinks they have a better idea for some of the naming there, please throw it in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube.
Yes, absolutely. So let's call it niche news, right? This week in niche news, and we can change that because I know that's super corny, but we're going with that for now. So this week, huge release of GPT-4. So GPT 3.5 was the previous release. That was ChatGPT that everybody has been using. But GPT-4 is a huge leap forward in technology from what I understand. So from what OpenAI has released about this, GPT-4 can now pass the bar exam in the top 10% of all people that pass, or AI that passes, right? And GPT 3.5 was in the bottom 10%. So that gives people an idea of how much more advanced this technology is. In addition, they shared that GPT-4 can take other types of inputs, right? It can take images. You can upload an image, and it can deduct what's going on in that image. It can write an article based on that image. It can tell you what's different about that image. It can, solve the problem that is in that image. So really interesting advancements in the technology. The other thing is that it can both take larger inputs and produce larger outputs. I think it's up to like 25,000 words or something. So it can definitely write like a full article at this point. And there might be a few other things. What did I miss there, Jared? And also just want to get your thoughts. What do you think of this?
Yeah, well, let's see. So first off, if you have access to ChatGPT right now, unless you're on the paid version, you won't see ChatGPT-4, right? So I think we're only talking the 4 is available to paid people, and I think that's like $20 a month or something like that.
Yep, exactly, $20 a
Yeah.
month, and I did spring for that, so I have access. I've been trying it out.
Have you? And I mean,
Yes.
for me, so I played around a little bit with it. I think we're like 2 days post release right now at recording. So, it's been a busy week. I've only gotten to really noodle in it in some spare time. The answers seem a lot more detailed from what I can tell. It's still kind of slow. I was hoping, I mean, there's no reason why it would be faster just with a new set of data, but it still takes a while for it to come up with it. Like if you want to get that 2,500 word blog post, go pour yourself a cup of coffee and come back because it's going to take a while. But yeah, I mean, man, some of the things that I thought were really fascinating, you mentioned it, and they used it in the demonstration. But for me, whenever we're doing any sort of web design project here at my agency, whether it's updating a landing page, building a new homepage, building service pages for clients, I just natively sit down with a piece of paper and I kind of sketch out my ideas, and then someone on my team is stuck trying to take those ideas and put them into what a web page would look like. ChatGPT-4 in the demo actually took one of these sketches and turned it into a website that you could use, you could actually implement right away. I just think that's mind-blowing.
It's just unbelievable, right? Being able to take a sketch pad with no technical ability and just upload it and like, here's a working website. It's really impressive. The other thing that I've been using it for most recently, and you probably could have done this with the previous ChatGPT. I just have access to 4, and so I'm doing it, is helping me with my daughter's homework. So my daughter is in geometry now, and it's been a little while since I took geometry. And so I needed some help and reminder to be able to help her, right? And so we're sitting down, we're doing homework, and it's like, do we use cosine, tangent, sine? It's like, gosh, I don't remember, right? And so I can go to GPT-4, ChatGPT Plus, and it spits out how to do it every step along the way. Wow. And then I can like teach my daughter how to do it. It's like, oh yeah, that's how you do it. And here's the 3 steps to get there. It's like parenting is becoming much easier now with, ChatGPT, GPT-4. And I think that's just going to get so, it's for a lot of people on the sort of the cutting edge, it's going to make things a lot easier.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to give away all my business ideas, but I think it would be an amazing business idea for math, tutoring, other subjects to be able to just upload a picture of the triangle and the angles you're trying to solve for, and it just takes the image, right? And it's like, yeah, that's kind of cheating, but that would help me as a parent a lot to just upload the image. Here's how you do it.
Speaking of images, one of the things, and I haven't tested this, speaking of just ideas though, but my mind started spinning when it comes to the idea, like over the last year or so, more, but really in the last year, video has come into play so much more in terms of how we build websites, right? And, now that ChatGPT-4 can recognize everything that's in an image, they showed an example of it taking a picture of what's in your fridge and helping you determine what you can make for dinner from what's in your fridge. Just take a picture of what ingredients you kind of have in your fridge. And it really got me thinking of how website builders can now use ChatGPT-4 to help write, I'm even thinking write captions, but obviously also just better blend what they do in video work, perhaps on YouTube, with what they're writing about on their website, and how ChatGPT-4 can help, give you a ton of information to, kind of put around your video, your blog post, all this kind of stuff as it relates to the images and the video you create.
Right. Absolutely. I think there's going to be a lot of creative ways that bloggers, niche site creators can use this technology. The question we're now at, and that I would be curious your opinion, is should bloggers be using GPT-4 to start writing content for them? Right. That is the big question. Right. Up until real recently, I would never put an article generated by AI on a website I cared about. Right. I've done fun experiments, but is it advanced enough that we should be doing that?
I would not, only from a different standpoint. I think that depending on the type of article or website you're writing, from what I've seen, it's pretty darn good. Still needs fact checking. I think the database model is only accurate to, September 2021. And even then it gets some stuff wrong. I posted on Twitter when I asked it about myself, and it was really funny that it got a lot of the generalities right about what I do for a living, the type of stuff I've done before, but it also said that I was the host of the Disruptive Marketing Podcast.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah, which isn't a bad name for a podcast, by the way, but it got some details wrong. I wouldn't, because here's what I'm concerned about. 2 years from now, AI has fully taken over much of the way that we interact with the internet. My article, because it's getting pulled from the same database and repository as all the other articles that were written using AI, sounds the exact same. And so I still think that down the road, I don't want to get into the whole what's Google going to do and all this kind of stuff, but I don't think it's at the point yet where you can feel future-proofed with straight AI content, just because your content's going to have to look somewhat similar to a lot of other people's. So perhaps using it and then adding personal, we'll get into the next topic, has to do with experience. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but adding your personal experience, adding your own imagery, adding your unique take on it, and adding to it still feels like the best use of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs to be heavily human edited if you are going to use it, and maybe it's just used for certain segments. Maybe you're generating a large list of something, right? And it can help you generate that large list. FAQs.
I'm using it for FAQs. We're using it already for FAQs. So I totally agree. There's so many good ways. And I mean, just to get away from the blank page, right? What do I write about? I know what to write about for the topic, but where do I start? And it's such a good prompt for that.
Yeah, it is. And Google has essentially said that, hey, content written by artificial intelligence is okay. As long as it is quality, it's helpful content, still helps the user, right? So there is that I think some people have taken and just run with, and maybe have produced tons of content and says, oh, Google's okay with that. I still think you need to take a heavily edited human approach to the content.
It works until it doesn't. And unfortunately in SEO, we'll never know when the it doesn't comes, but maybe it will, maybe it won't.
I think that's a perfect segue into our next news topic is Google's always changing. And in fact, just yesterday, Google announced the March 2023 Google Core update just released. And of course, we don't know when that's going to finish. Yep. What that's going to impact exactly. But usually they take about 2 weeks to roll out. And I think that's probably going to be the case here, is it's going to take a couple of weeks to roll out. And then we'll be able to go back and analyze what happened.
It's the first one in 6 months, I think? Certainly the first one of 2023. And again, we're talking core updates. So if you're feeling like there's been an update, well, we've had the helpful content update. We had a helpful content update.
The product reviews update. They all feel like just huge updates, right?
Man,
but you're right. This is a core Google update.
And so the idea of a core update, according to Google, is that it affects every single query on the internet that they have. It's not targeting anything specific like spam updates, product review updates, but it affects everything. I think that, again, this is our first time talking publicly about updates and, what Google intends to do versus what ends up happening and all that complexity. But one thing I think is really interesting is they made a very big deal about introducing a second E in the EEAT.
Yes.
They had to do it right after we came out with our EAT podcast, of course, which was just brilliant with Kyle Roof. I mean, everything he said was still applicable, but they had literally announced it 2 days after we released the podcast.
I know. Timing, yeah, not perfect. But
anyways, this is the first core update we've seen after they've brought the experience E into the EEAT component. I'm curious to see if that has a lot to do, or if they're able to really implement that into the algorithm and not just into the product, the quality rater guidelines.
Yeah. And so again, it's so early that we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But if you're listening to this, check out your website. If there are any changes in rankings or in traffic, it might be due to the Google Core update. And so usually what I like to do is compare kind of week over week, so if I'm looking at my traffic on Friday, I can see what my traffic was like last Friday and kind of compare the similar days to know, hey, is there an increase here? And I got rewarded, yay. Or is there a hit? And I think I saw some things on Twitter today. People are starting to post, hey, are you seeing there's some chatter and some things going on in the rankings. So we'll see what happens.
Obviously, as you know, and not to mention, if you haven't, sat through the 2-week period of a core update, like sometimes you'll spike on day one and you'll think, man, I've won this update. And then a week later, they'll, change something and you'll go right back to where you were. Or I've even had it where we've gone actually down in the update after going up. So, if you don't, I wouldn't recommend checking every day. Maybe, like you said, get a little bit of a taste for it, see where you're at, and then, go about your business. Keep churning out content and keep publishing and keep doing the things you do. And then when it's over, then go take and let the dust settle a little bit and take a look at where you actually landed, because it might be different than where you are, say, 2 days into the update.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's good advice for anybody. So we had just maybe one other story. Did you want to cover the sort of last item you had on your list?
Yeah, I thought this was really interesting. Gary Eels, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, by the way. It is, I don't even know how to spell it. It's either an I or an L. Gary Eels, he's a Google Webmaster Trend Analyst. He's been around for a long time commenting on search. And he was quoted recently this week about at PubCon about recovering from a Google helpful content update. Now, these updates just started for the first time 6 months ago, I think 7 months ago. And he said something I thought that was really interesting. He said, basically, you might never fully recover from a helpful content update. You can't always get back from the traffic you lost. It could be because Google has now decided that maybe what you were ranking for isn't something that they put value on anymore. And basically saying, hey, recovery is not the same as core updates. And I thought that was really interesting. Cryptic, of course, but I think for me, it does put an even stronger onus on getting your content right out of the gate. I know that there's been some ideas about, hey, put content up, and then once it starts to get indexed and actually gets traffic, that's when you go back and make it the best post ever. I'm not saying that's a terrible strategy, but this would argue that, hey, if you're publishing a lot of content that's okay, you get caught in a helpful content update, who knows what that looks like at that point from how Google looks at things.
Right. It is interesting that, even if you recover, right, you may never fully recover. Maybe part of that has to do with just the ever-changing landscape of the SERPs, right? So if you were to take a screen capture of the top ranking websites, 6 months ago, they're not going to be the same as they are, today. And so even if you're improving your content and you get better, it's like, well, your competitors may have done an even better job. And so even though technically you recovered from this helpful content update, maybe the other websites are still just more helpful. So it's kind of one of those things that it's just always changing. And even though you were number one in Google 6 months ago, doesn't mean you're gonna be number one again, even if your article is better than it used to be.
We talked about this a bit on the podcast. I feel like a connected thing. I think it might have been Sean Hill recently, but we talked about how sometimes you lose ranking for things you never really had any business ranking for in the first place.
Yeah, that was Sean's podcast interview. He was talking about something related to his barbecue. It was a core keyword, barbecue.
Yeah, it was like barbecue or like, smoker.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really, when you sit back and think about it, it's not a content query. It's like an e-com query, right? Like someone's probably looking for a smoker, not looking to learn about a smoker, which is what you write about. And I do this with clients sometimes where they'll come to me and say, hey, I lost this traffic on this page, what's going on? And I'll look and it's like, well, you lost, the term lawyer. For some reason you were ranking for lawyer and get a lot of traffic. And that's probably not something that Google really wants you to rank for. And these things can get changed around in helpful content updates. In theory, that's actually the update that should take care of it. And you didn't really lose. You didn't really get dinged. You just kind of went back to where you should be for that keyword or that article. And so it's helpful sometimes to look at your content from that perspective and be honest.
Right. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next segment of the show that I'm currently calling Now That's Impressive. So if I had some sort of transition sound effect, this would be the time to input that. So for this segment, Now That's Impressive, basically we have a couple of stories that we want to share, basically things we've seen out in the internet, on the wild, of people doing interesting things. So what do you got for me, Jared?
Yeah, I feel like we need like Alex Trebek to walk out and kind of intro this segment.
Yeah.
But, maybe ChatGPT could, or some of the new AI voiceover could help us with that.
That's a good idea.
Speaking of AI. Anyways, so I thought this was interesting. I'm as an agency owner, I'm not just in the niche website world, but in the broader marketing world. And I saw someone publish a case study this week about how they added a single SMS text to an abandoned cart email chain. Now, so if you're not familiar, a lot of times when you go to buy something on the internet and you go, oh man, that's too expensive. I don't really actually need that lamp. You'll abandon your cart, and that's a really, you're considered a very hot lead at that point. And so we come up with email responses, autoresponders to try to get you back to buy that item that you left in your cart. So one of the highest converting email outreach systems or autoresponder sequences we'll come up with. And so this person added a text to their autoresponder, and they launched with the text. And so I think it was 25 minutes after you abandoned the cart, you got a text that said, hey, I don't know what the exact text said, but come back and buy this. And you can always slot in like a little discount or something to get them to come back and buy. But what it did was it lifted year over year revenue by 242%.
Holy smokes.
And so we'll include a note that, actually I haven't asked you, can we include a link to that in the show notes?
Sure. Yeah.
I say that so haphazardly. We haven't never done this before.
We've never done this. We'll do whatever we want, Jared. Let's make it happen.
I thought it was interesting because they went on to say like, hey, it's not a Loctite case study, right? Like maybe the text stole some of the revenue that would have come from the email. But they did note that the email autoresponder was flat on revenue growth, but the text provided a 242% lift. So certainly probably more corollary data, not causal data. But it's interesting for everyone to think about, hey, how can we incorporate text into what we do? Certainly it's not a one-to-one for affiliate marketers, but nonetheless, like how can we use text? Because that is a compelling number to increase conversions.
Yeah. No, that's huge. And my mind is immediately going to, how can I implement this on Link Whisper?
Yes, right? Like you have an e-commerce product.
I've got an e-commerce product. We already do the abandoned cart emails, and those did add quite a bit of revenue. I have a dashboard that I can log into, and it says, hey, X dollars in revenue have been recovered due to these emails in the last 30 days, last week, and which makes their product really sticky because anyways, long story short, you sign up for a specific abandoned cart email product that I pay for every month, right? They show their value, right? They show,
they're
hey,
expensive
you made,
too because they know their value.
Exactly. And so adding text message can be huge because we all know we have our phones with us. We see those, right? You're much more likely to have a higher open rate, view rate of a text message when compared to an email. And I like that it's just one, right? You just send one text message, people see that, and you recover that lost revenue. So how can affiliate marketers apply this, right, is a good question. Right. I don't know the answer other than,
it makes me think of, do you remember back for a period of time where Chrome would allow you to sign up for updates or notifications from a website when they launched a new...
Yeah, push notifications.
Push notifications, right? I think you can still do it. Just,
you can.
I don't know, it went out of vogue.
It's not as popular.
It's not as popular, but certainly when it launched, it was really popular. But I am trying to think of how you could use it to maybe push your best content out to your best audience, right? Like an audience that wants to hear, that is interested in hearing, that is engaged in hearing. Certainly you can do it also if you're running an email list for your website. You could also text notify people about an email that went out that launched. I mean, I know I don't check my email as much. I don't stay on top of my email as much. Now that's all on the on the content side of things. I'm trying to think how you could use it for affiliate marketing if you don't have your own product.
Right. It's a little bit more difficult because you do got to get that email address right through some process, a checkout process. There are websites that have pop-ups for text notifications, right? So instead of signing up for an email list, people sign up for SMS notifications. As an affiliate, you could do that. There's lots of services just like email providers that you can pay for. So if anybody out there is doing that or doing anything interesting with SMS, I'd love to hear about it.
Here's another tip for how to get phone numbers. This is what we did at my last company. We were using, kind of more advanced CMSs like a HubSpot, a Salesforce, a Pardot through Salesforce, these kind of things. But what we would do is we would engage people off the bat with just getting their email address. So you have a nice little pop-up that says, "Hey, download our our awesome guide. It's going to help you out. Just give me your first name and your email, and then we'll send you the guide." And then because of cookies and because of the way that CMS is able to track them, the next time they come back to the website, it would say, "Hey, we've already given you this guide, so how about you get this guide? And to get this one, go ahead and give us your phone number." And it ties it to the same lead. And so you can kind of maybe not ask for the phone number out of the gate, but then ask for it once some trust has been established. They've gotten that first guide, they trust you, they like you, they know you're not there to spam them. Sure, I'll give you my phone number now. What are you going to give me this time?
Right. That's a great idea. I mean, that's sort of like the next step in the relationship, right?
Yeah.
These are clearly the warm leads, right? The people that do trust you, right? Instead of first you ask for the date, then you ask for the engagement, then the marriage, right? There's a process there, right? You got to get the phone number at some point. So
mine had some really cool percentages, but your story has some really cool revenue numbers tied to it.
Yes. And so I'm going to try and share my screen. We may never do this again, but let's see, share screen. Oh man, I've got so many tabs. It lets me share a tab. So I think you're seeing a Twitter tab right now. We're talking about the Scott Delong story. He's been sharing his experiment, his project on Twitter for about 6 months now. 6 months ago, he said, "Hey, I'm going to invest $20,000 and I'm going to build an asset worth $500,000. And I'm going to do it in 1 year," right? So his budget was a max of $20,000. And this generated a lot of buzz, and people have been following him for 6 months. And just yesterday or the day before, he posted an update, a 6-month update. And here's some of the results that he's had. And then I want to talk about how he's doing this because he shared that as well. He has 45,000 email subscribers with a daily open rate of 35%. So I think he's sending daily emails, if I'm reading that properly. 45,000 email subscribers in 6 months is pretty mind-blowing. That's really good.
And again, you think huge budget, but that's not with a huge budget.
Exactly. And I think later he shares how much he's actually spent. He's still under budget. I don't know if he says it here. Spent $18,000. So he spent $18,000 total. And his website is getting 126,000 page views in the last 30 days. 57% of that is coming from his email. 39% is coming from Facebook. The rest is direct traffic and Google. So most of this is not coming from search engines, right? And then his website made about $2,000 in revenue. What's interesting about this is that he's primarily built this on Facebook. So he started with a Facebook page and sharing things that are kind of viral, things that people interact with, the like, comment, share. And so that's attracted a larger and larger page following. And most of his budget has gone to building a page following, doing page likes campaigns, where he was getting, I don't remember, but really cheap, 3-4 cent likes. And that's kind of a cool thing that I've played around with. I built up a couple pages that have about 10,000 followers, right? Really cheap. You can spend less than 10 cents a page like with Facebook ads. And so that's what he's done. Spent most of his money there, but he's also experimented with Facebook lead ads. So he's actually building the email list through Facebook. So just taking like almost an opposite approach that we talk a lot about for SEO. So he's just not even thinking about Google. He's just thinking, how can I get the biggest audience possible and get them all on my email list for really cheap. And for him, that's been Facebook.
It's so interesting because right now, like you said, he's making about $2,000 a month. So I'd put a value, I don't know, ballpark $75,000. But his product comes out at the end of this month.
Yep.
Or
he's
at
got
least
a physical product that he's coming out with by the end of March.
And it feels like that's going to be the make or break, right? Like that could, I mean, with an email list that is opening at 35% a day and nearing 50,000 people, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to do some back of the napkin math because we have no idea what his product is going to look like. But it's not hard to think of a company that could be making $100,000 to $125,000 a year in revenue off a product like that, which would probably put him at a valuation, depending on his profit. You know, if you could get that up to, several $100,000 and with a nice, growth curve, I don't know. I think it's definitely doable.
I think so. And the key here is his email list, right? He's still getting 125,000, 126,000 page views, but most of that's coming from his email list. But as soon as he has a product to sell, and assuming it's a great fit for his audience, which I'm sure it will be, 45,000 people on an email list that are interested in what you do already, like the chances are really good that he could be making $10,000 a month, right? Selling his products.
So what do you think about this for a website owner? Maybe not the product, but just using a budget to go to Facebook and build an email list from it. Let's say I'm making $5,000 a month with my website and I'm doing all SEO every month, right? I'm pouring my available budget back into articles, links, whatever it is. What about carving out, say, $5,000? You said you had a little experience in this. If I carved out a month's worth of earnings there to build a Facebook page, drive some likes to it, try to get email, try to build an email list from it, like, what do you think? Is that a good move?
It's super smart. I am such a huge fan of email.
Right.
I am.
You said that was your most valuable asset when I interviewed you at the end of the year.
We did have that, you know, and I sort of said, hey, if I had to put all my assets on the table and like decide, do I give up my website or give up my email list? Like I would be really torn, of course. I don't want to give up any. But it would be so hard to give up an email list. And the reason is because you can sell to your email list over and over again. Whereas your website, you know, they Google something, they come, they visit, they leave, they may never come back. But your community really lives on your email list. And so, yes, I think it would be super smart for people to invest some amount to start building their email list. I mean, there's whole businesses that we know about that all it is an email list, right? It's an email newsletter. You've got the Morning Brew, the Hustle, lots of other businesses that they don't even think about a website. They don't even have, you know, some of these don't even really have a website. It's just an opt-in for their email. And so, yeah, that's a whole other discussion of like, it's a different type of business than blogging and SEO and affiliate marketing that we talk about a lot, but there's huge opportunity to just focus on email. And so to balance that out, I think a lot of the bloggers would be wise to take some of that budget and start building out this other asset so that if there is a big Google Core update in March of 2023, they might have an email list they can rely on that Google didn't take away.
There's no update to Google. There's no algorithm update to Instagram or Facebook or any of these things that can kind of knock your email list back.
Yep. Exactly. So anyways, the Scott Delong story is pretty cool. I will say that I reached out to him privately to see if he'd come on the podcast. I have not heard back yet. So hopefully we will get him so he can tell his side of the story here.
If you know him, help us out. Let's get him on.
Give him a nudge. That's right. Very good. So do we have another story here or did we cover it?
We covered it. We covered Now That's Impressive.
Now that's impressive. So hopefully people are out there saying that. Wow, now that is impressive. We're open to other ideas for segment names here, guys. Yeah. So having said that, we're moving on to shiny object shenanigans. Yep. So this is all about, you know, what are some shiny object businesses that you and I are working on, that we're doing, you know. I hate to encourage this type of behavior.
I know.
You know,
my
listeners.
wife will definitely, if she listens to this, turn this part off because this is the part about, she's like, oh, another idea, wonderful.
That's right. So if you guys have problems going after shiny objects, you know, maybe mute this for a few minutes, but come back. No, these are things that are not our core business, but what are we excited about? Do you want to go first?
I can, yeah, sure. I mean, It's funny when you put this on the agenda, I thought, oh, I'm not doing any oh yeah, I am. I got a lot I could list here. And then I realized I could pick from about 5 things to put here. Yeah, so one of the things that I am working on that has nothing to do with my core businesses at all is actually providing helpful tips and insights that I probably would commonly end up sharing on Twitter. And going back to what we just got done talking about, putting it in email format where it's easier to digest, it's a little bit easier to kind of gather long form thoughts and start sending emails out. So last year we put together a little website called weekendgrowth.com, which is where we put my photo course and anything like that. And so we started just put an email list up there and started sending out emails. I've sent 2 out now. So
Nice.
I've sent 2. So this has been 1 per week for 2 weeks. I did a couple tweets. So the list is at 3 or 4. I think it's like 400 people now. Sent out a case study. That took a little while to put together, I'll be honest.
That was a big one. That was
Quite
quite in depth.
Yes, you saw it. I think it ended up being like 6,000 words. Bit off a little more than I could chew there, but that's the way it goes. This reminds me why case studies are so difficult. So when you read someone's case study, just know it takes a lot of time to put those suckers together. But yeah, so just trying to stay consistent and actually commit to sending an email a week with helpful content per se. I'm going to try to do it for 3 months. So that's my goal, and then evaluate after 3 months. And so 2 weeks in, I've sent an email each week, and I've already written next week's email. So that's a good sign.
So how will you evaluate if it's been a success after 3 weeks? How are you going to decide whether or not to keep going?
Yeah, that's a great question. It has to grow. So the list is going to have to grow. If it's not growing, to me, that's a sign that it's not helping enough to gather its own momentum. And I want to see engagement. So I have gotten a couple email replies, people asking questions. And so I think the 2 ways I'll measure it are engagement and growth. What's the metric for engagement, replies, and clicks? We do email marketing all the time for clients. And so open rates can be a little bit mysterious. You come up with a really snazzy title and you can really swing that open rate, but how are people enjoying the content, click-through rates, replies, those kind of things. So anyways, engagement and growth.
That sounds good. Well, next time we're on, we can bring that up perhaps, and check back in a month.
Check
right?
back in a month. So yeah, in a month or
still,
so, we'll see where we're at. We should be 6 emails in. We should get better information. So yeah, be a nice little case study for anybody wanting to think about starting something like that. A lot of people will post helpful stuff on Twitter, so maybe people can watch along and see if they like the results enough to try it themselves.
Yep. No, that sounds great. So one thing that I've been working on that is definitely not my core business, but I just love testing out things, is I am outsourcing a YouTube channel. So
I saw this.
The channel is 100% outsourced. In fact, I'm so lazy that I'm not even hiring the people building the channel. I have a partner on this, right? Like I've just, it was somebody sort of pitched me the idea. They said, "Hey, Spencer, I got this idea for a faceless YouTube channel," meaning he's not on camera, I'm not on camera. We're using other, clips and other things where we're not creating the original videos, right? So I partnered with him. I'm investing some money, and then he's taking it. He's hiring all the freelancers, the editors, the voiceover artists, and running with it. And so this has been going for about a month. I should have had the stats pulled up right in front of me here, but so far there's about 330 subscribers. Not a lot, but we're just trying to get to that magic 1,000 subscriber mark where we can finally monetize the channel. We have just over a dozen videos up, and the channel itself has like 50,000 views overall.
That's good.
The subscriber growth has grown like 45% in the last 5 days, right? And so if that keeps up, it's only going to be another maybe 3 weeks before we can finally monetize the channel and make some money.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, how has engagement been? Like, because my first concern would be, oh, maybe they like the topic, they click in and they go, oh, there's nobody here talking to me, so I'll bounce. Like, how has the engagement been? I mean, how would you measure that? Number of people that drop after 50%, that's a YouTube stat, or I don't know, whatever you're comfortable sharing. I'm just curious if people have been really liking it.
Yeah, so I finally just pulled up the stats. I got it in front of me now. So 64,000 total views in the last 28 days, 374 subscribers.
Gone up.
So it's actually gone up. And how would I look at engagement? So let's see here. You have to, I guess, look at individual videos.
Yeah, maybe just pull up the most popular video and you can kind of get a
Yeah, let's do that.
Again, since we're just rolling with it here today, the first time.
We didn't even know what we're going to do here. So I got the channel pulled up. This is so bad. I'm not even going to know what to like share as a good average view duration. Average percentage viewed, 31%.
Okay.
That's on sort of the most popular video. I think that's pretty decent, actually.
I would agree. I mean, certainly there's some that are going to get a lot higher, but they're going to be these, a different style.
Yeah, and maybe I can look at number of likes versus dislikes, right? So maybe if I just read off some of those stats, right, like it's 95%. If people are familiar with the YouTube Studio, you can see how many thumbs down you get versus up, right? So we're, 94, 91, 88, 97, 97, 100%, 92, wow. Right? So it's decent.
Yeah.
I think like niche pursuits is higher. Like it's always like 97, 98, 99%, right? So if there's a video below 90%, that's probably not great. But most of these are, doing pretty decent. And I wish I could share more details like what the niche is and exactly what I'm doing. But maybe people can get the idea is it's totally outsourced. We've got voiceovers kind of combining clips of different things and making it unique. So
I will tell you this, if you want some numbers, we did, I posted about a little bit last summer. We did a no-face YouTube account for one of our niche websites. And it was really quick, down and dirty. It was very much like take our top 20 informational posts and just, kind of visually show it and read it over and stuff like that. And I pulled it up while we're talking, and the average view duration is like 27%, 17%, 7%.
Okay.
Here's a 31%. Here's a 21%. So not great, I mean, people are watching it, but they're getting a little bored quickly. So I'd say your results are much more compelling than mine, which were, pretty bare bones. But still, 30, 40%, that's much better.
Yeah, there you go. So the channel's getting... Is this the total number of views? So yeah, it's like, 6,000 views on the channel yesterday, right? So it's getting 4, 5, 6,000 views a day and growing on the channel, which actually, boy, if I want to say that's about the same level Niche Pursuits is getting as a channel, right?
Well, and you also, now tell me if I'm wrong, because I know this has switched a bit. You also have to hit, what is it, 4,000 watch hours or something to monetize?
4,000 public watch hours.
Public watch hours. And just now, is there a shorts requirement now too?
There is. I don't remember what it is. I saw it listed. So it's something different. It's more.
It's more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's to qualify for ads as well. But it sounds like you're well on your way to get that too.
Yep. Yeah. So we're about a third of the way there on subscribers, and then total watch time. I don't remember what it is, but we're gonna get there. So that's kind of been a fun little project. I don't expect to quit my day job or anything based on this, but hopefully make my money back.
Well, and I mean, man, obviously my mind starts going for if that could be a service that people could take advantage of. I mean, again, if I have a website, it's making $5,000 or $10,000 a month, and I'm looking for another channel, I'm looking for another way to drive traffic. How much would I have to spend to get 25 faceless videos made for my brand? If I can get 30, 40% engagement rate, if I can monetize it, start to make even just a couple $100 a month off that, all of a sudden that asset starts to pay for itself differently. I mean, it's very interesting.
So you're basically saying this shiny object idea could breed another shiny object idea and be a service to build YouTube channels.
So what I'm telling you is please go ahead and create it for all of us so we can take advantage of it.
All right, I'll talk to my guy, see what he says.
There you go.
Right, he's the one that does all the real work. I
I was
just
gonna
talk
say he's
about
the
it.
one who has to do it all. Fair enough.
That's right. So if he's in, why not? Let's do it. So I had one other one that I thought I would share here real quick because, of course I needed two shiny objects to work on, is the Amazon Influencer Program. This is really fascinating. I've emailed about it a couple of times, but I don't believe we mentioned it on the podcast at all. And I don't know why it never clicked for me before, but there's really two parts of the Amazon Influencer Program. One is that, yes, you can create a storefront on Amazon and have your videos right there on your storefront. That's interesting, but not that cool. You can then share the link to your videos on social media with your affiliate link. That is different than the Amazon Associates program. You're not allowed to share affiliate links with the Associates program. Right. So that's a difference. You can do that. That's cool, but not that cool. What is really cool is that you can create product review videos and they get placed on the product pages of Amazon.com.
Now, I've seen those. So I've seen those when I'm buying something on Amazon.
Right. And what I should do is try and find a product that this is actually happening on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that while we're talking, but I'll see if I can, right? I did find some. So let me try and share my screen to see. Again, I got to pick, which tab. Okay, I've got the Rode mic that I was looking at microphones recently. And so this is Amazon.com. This is the product page. And for the listeners that are not viewing, right, you've got the product images up above the fold, and then there's videos, right? And if you click videos, they've got the videos for this product and then related videos.
Oh, wow.
So this isn't a perfect example, but there is – actually, it is a perfect example. You've got this one. There is only one video for this product. And let's see if this one is by Retail Solutions, LLC. Is that who is selling this? No, Rode is selling this. So Retail Solutions, LLC is an Amazon influencer, okay? So their video is listed at the top. If I were to watch, I can't remember what the percentage is. It's something like if you watch more than 30 seconds or you watch 50% of the video and then somebody actually buys this product, the influencer, which in this case is Retail Solutions, LLC, gets a commission.
Ah, that's the angle.
This is so fascinating because I don't know if Retail Solutions LLC has a website. They don't post on social media. They're not getting any traffic. People are just coming to this page and buying the microphone. If they happen to watch part of their video, they get a commission. So for me, this light bulb was huge. I'm like, what? You can make commissions directly on Amazon without a website, without social media, without anything. All I got to do is record a 1-minute video. Done. Let's try this, right? So this suddenly became my shiny object, that I am trying out. And so I have recorded 6 videos on my own and posted those. And I'm not making a ton of money, but I have started making commissions. So my videos have a couple thousand views. People are watching them. They're getting listed on the product pages, right? And I've made like $40 or something in the last 30 days. So it's not a lot, right? I'm making a couple bucks a day, but I only spent a little bit of time. But it's proven to me that this works. This is an idea you can make money from. Your videos do get listed. And so you know where I'm going with this potentially after listening to our last shiny object idea is like, well, I don't really have the time to do this. Can I outsource it?
Correct.
And so I just posted a job. I'm trying to hire video influencers. And I'm going to have them record a bunch of videos reviewing Amazon products. And they're all going to get posted under my Amazon influencer account. And so I'm starting to do the math here, Jared. I'm like, well, let's say it costs me $50 or maybe $100, even if I send them the product, right? Maybe it costs me $100 per video, right? Can I start making $30 a month with that one video? Maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even if it's making, $10 a month, right? I make all my money back within a year. And so I'm like, gosh, what if I put 1,000 videos up, yada, yada, yada. The numbers start going wild. So I'm going to start playing around outsourcing this and letting people post videos for me.
Can you, so you're an influencer. Are you categorized in your influencer, or can you just, once you're in, you can start making videos about TVs, canoes, bathware products, anything?
Anything. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want.
You can just run
right?
rickshaw.
You can, and I think most influencers actually have their audience. They're posting both on YouTube and social media, maybe their email list if they're really smart, and they have their niche, right? But all I'm doing is like whatever's low-hanging fruit on Amazon as a product that I can rank for, right? My video can be the only one for that product. That's the one I'm going to do. So it doesn't matter.
Are you getting commission that's similar to what you would get if you just sent it from your website? So like if you're 3% for a hammer, you're 3% for a hammer from a video.
Yes, it's very similar. I think there are some slight differences, but I don't know exactly what they are, other than for the most part, it's the same.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
wow, I'm super enthralled.
Yeah. So I'll report back, right?
Okay.
This is my shiny object. Again, I'd love to do it all myself, but I'm finding I don't have time. I did the 6 videos. Now I just got to outsource it because I'm not getting to it. Okay. So we got a few more minutes. I think we have time for our last segment here.
Yeah.
That I am calling.
This has gone well so far.
So far, well, we'll see what the listeners
It's
think.
true,
But,
actually. The
I'm having
recording has
fun.
gone well. Who knows if anyone's going to listen to this?
So one weird niche. This is the segment where we both share sort of a weird niche site that we've come across, something that's interesting or maybe different, and just chat about it. Again, the idea is just spark an idea in the listener's brain for like, oh, I could create a niche site on that, or that's an interesting idea. What if I did that for this audience, right? So what do you got for me, Jared?
So I heard through an email or something that Starbucks and Delta Sky Miles had announced something together. I thought that was intriguing. Ended up down the rabbit hole, as we all do, and I ended up discovering a website called StarbucksMelody.com. And I mean, basically, it's like a Starbucks news and gossip site.
All about Starbucks.
All about Starbucks. It's like the place to be if you're obsessed with Starbucks. Now, I like coffee. I do end up at Starbucks a lot when I'm out for coffee, but I'm not out much anymore. I'm here. But I thought it was really interesting. It's just, I mean, they have a logo, but it is, it's not a sophisticated website at all.
Yep. And I just pulled it up here for viewers.
There it is. Okay, it's on the screen. It is a DR48. It ranks for 30,000 keywords with over 2,000 keywords on page 1 of Google.
Wow.
It's monetized through AdThrive. I only saw one ad per page, and it was not in the high earning pages or high earning spots that we kind of know about once you've been on an ad network. They have a sponsors bucket. Didn't see anybody sponsoring.
Yep.
They have no affiliate that I can determine. They don't have any affiliate offers. They have no email list that I can find. I want to buy this site.
Did you say how much traffic it was getting? You said how many keywords. Did you say how much traffic?
No, let me pull it up here. According to Ahrefs, let's take a look here. Hope I didn't get kicked out by one of them.
And this is just, I assume, a fan? Like, it's not totally unrelated to Starbucks.
Yeah, it's totally. As a matter of fact, on their contact page, they say, "Don't email me about Starbucks problems. I don't work for the company."
Yeah, I see this. It says, if you're trying to reach Starbucks customer service, call 1-800, yada, yada, yada.
They even put the number there.
Right?
Like, please
It's
don't.
Like, I can't help.
It's just a fan. Yeah, Ahrefs estimates their monthly traffic at 15,000, and they typically undershoot that. So,
They do.
I mean,
It's usually tripled out, right? So it's probably getting 50 to 100,000 visitors a month, just depending on if they're getting any traffic from elsewhere.
yeah, and it's super fascinating to kind of see. A lot of the stuff they talk about is more news-oriented stuff, and my mind starts going like, man, you've got your news stuff. Going back to what we talked about earlier, this is perfect for an email list, sending out a daily email with the Starbucks news, super engaged group of followers that are going to probably be reading this. You can sell ads and affiliate spots in your newsletter. Obviously, there's so many affiliate plays, maybe not Starbucks related, but I don't know if Starbucks has a private affiliate network. I don't think they do, but they have their products like their Verismo or something like that, Verismo. But there's all just, I mean, these are just generally coffee people, right? So your mind just starts going to all the coffee and tea stuff that you could turn this into. And then brand plays. I mean, man, why not work with Starbucks on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the content on the site, and it's not they don't produce a ton of content, right? Like just on the very first page, you go all the way back to 2019, right?
Oh,
So
wow. So it's basically hasn't been updated in a while.
well, the most recent article is from July of 2022, but there's like 10 articles on the homepage, right? So they've written 10 articles since 2019 is basically what I'm saying, right? So it's not updated very often.
Let me look and see. I mean, their traffic has not dropped that much since 2019. As a matter of fact, it has. It's almost the same as it was in 2020. You could argue it's even gone up since 2020.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. At least that's the homepage because they got so many categories with so many different. Anyways,
yeah, look at all that.
I think it was a lot more active. I'm looking back at 2016, 2017. It looks like there was a lot more articles back then. But, you know, coffee is an interesting niche. I happen to know somebody that has a very successful coffee website, and there are definitely opportunities to monetize this with other types of coffee, right? There's a lot of affiliate programs for different types of coffee and things like that, brand deals. So interesting find. This is a weird niche.
You're now going to get 50 to 100 emails from people asking to buy the site.
That's right. So
what's yours? Yours is interesting.
So this is one that I also shared on my email list. It is called WeeksUntilcom. And let me share my screen. Basically, it is what it sounds like. Is people Google, how many weeks until July 1st? Or how many weeks until Christmas? Or how many weeks until, you know, they type in their birth date or Thanksgiving, right? It's a really ugly website, right? It's like Craigslist-esque.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's super old school and you can click on a bunch of things. But I do this a lot for like races that I have coming up. You know, I run marathons. And so, you know, I'm going to be running the Boston Marathon April 17th, and you have to write it in sort of the English order instead of the U.S. order, you know, with the day.
Oh,
anyways, and it'll say, okay, I've got 4 weeks until that date. All right. You know, but they rank decent in Google, and they get, I've got the traffic here, 319,000 organic searches a month, according to Ahrefs, right, which is pretty solid. Again, the traffic might be as much as triple, so they might be getting 1 million visitors a month. You know, when you Google just about anything that has the phrase weeks until, this is what's going to show up.
And I mean, yeah, just think of what maybe a little bit better UI could do on that.
Yeah. And, you know, the one downside I will say to this is that they're really relying on Google, right? For people searching in weeks until, right? Like if they suddenly drop, you know, to position 2 or 3, like that's going to be a lot of their traffic.
If I show that to my 6-year-old daughter, she's going to check that every day on how many weeks until her birthday.
Yep. That's my son does the same. He has a countdown that he writes on our calendar for a number of days. And he always asks Alexa, he's like, Alexa, how many days until yada, yada, his birthday, to make sure he got it right. So
that's a good one.
Yeah. So do we have time for one more? What are we at here?
Yeah, I'd say we can squeeze it in. I like this one because we actually use this at my agency every day, every hour of every day.
Is that right?
Yeah, I saw this in the notes and I was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought to look at that. But we use this constantly, all of our team members.
It's just one of those things. You're like, how long is that date, right? Okay, we'll be quick on this final one. That is,
This is what I'm talking about. The one I'm teasing. The one you're about to bring up is the one we use every day.
That makes a lot more sense.
You're like, why would
I was like, why are you? Yeah, I mean, you got projects with your agency, that you're curious about. Okay,
this one.
CapitalizeMyTitle.com. So why don't you share how you're using it then, Jared? Because I have never used this, and I thought it was super interesting.
Well, because when you work with a variety of writers and a variety of editors, and you have these processes in place to produce content at scale, like we do, at least at my agency, you need to have SOPs around how to do everything. And the SOPs aren't really my thing. That's my business partner, Caitlin's. That's like she's all operations. And she found this, and we have all of our writers put all of the headers and titles. So not only titles, but H2s and H3s through this. So we have a standard process for how to capitalize stuff. And there's no discrepancies about writers and editors publishing content that has weird words uncapitalized or not.
Yeah, so I'm just typing everything in lowercase.
See, and it left the lowercase. And so you can actually tell it what style of English you want it to use, which we define at our agency, because you could change that to Chicago or AP, and it's going to change the way
it changes it slightly, the capitalization based on that. Interesting. Yeah, so if you want to come through, you've got big, long titles, and you want to capitalize the first letter, time saver.
It's so great. So you can just type it however you want it, and then just run your titles and your headers potentially through this as well. Your FAQs, you copy that. If you do FAQ research by going to PAAs, people also ask on Google. You grab those. Only the first letter is capitalized, right? Then it's just more like a string of words, and you can put it in here, and bam, now you have a header out of it.
Yeah, this is so cool. I mean, yeah. Okay, I don't know why anybody would do that one, alternating capitalize and lowercase. But you can do lowercase, sentence case. So how much traffic does this get? Let's see. It was something like...
You had it down at 1.5 million organics a month.
1.5 million organics a month that this website is getting, according to Ahrefs. And that's just the organic. How many people actually just come here directly, right? So this is a website that's probably easily getting 2 to 3 million visitors a month. There's clearly ads all over the place, and so they're probably raking in quite a bit of money there.
It's so simple.
So simple,
but it does handle. It solves a problem.
It does. So maybe that sparks some ideas for people. What are, a little problem you can create a little tool for that maybe it's going to rank in Google for that little, query, that little problem, and just put some ads on it and make money, right? So fascinating website. Okay, so I think we did it, Jared. We made it through all our list of ideas that we had. Hopefully this is interesting. We're going to try and do a weekly episode where we talk about what's happened this week, and we're going to try and keep it current and fresh. We're recording this on a Thursday. This will be released on Friday, so it is current. So watch for those episodes coming out on Fridays from now on, so you can have the most up-to-date everything that we're working on, things we've seen, Google updates, big news that's happening in the industry. So
it's perfect. You can end your week driving home, from the day job or whatever it is, pop this on. I think we went an hour. We didn't even have a time frame. We didn't know how long this was going to take. So, there's a lot here to get through.
There is. And so thank you, listeners, for letting us go through this new process. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please provide feedback, both in the YouTube comments, and something that I should ask everyone to do more often is to leave a rating or a review on whatever podcast app you're using. That helps discoverability of this podcast. So if you're using, Apple Podcasts, that's probably the biggest one. Go ahead and leave it a star rating and leave a review. That lets people know that you enjoyed it and that they might enjoy it as well.
What you're really saying is I need to say that more often.
Well, you could say that, sure. That would be great if you plug the podcast as well. And of course, people follow along over at nichepursuits.com. And if you want to get on my newsletter, where I do share a lot of this, go to nichepursuits.com/newsletter. and that will get you on the email list if you're not already on the email list, because I tend to share 4 or 5 items in each of my emails that come out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
You do 3 times a week.
3 times a week. I'm coming out with stories, news. I share my own shiny objects and a lot of other goodies that people can get on the list and read about. So, phew. We did it, Jared. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I was a little nervous about this one. I feel good. So thanks for having me. And it's fun to kind of go down a different path. I think this is really fun.
Yep, this has been great. I enjoyed it, Jared. So appreciate you hopping on, and thank you everybody listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast.